Before we get into the video, could everyone please subscribe to my Endless Diary Tales channel? Thank you so much. My husband took the entire company to the Maldives, leaving me alone at the airport security checkpoint. His little secretary held the first-class boarding pass, giving me a light smile. Sorry, Sister Yen. I was so busy that I booked your ticket for myself. Chin Mayu casually put his arm around her shoulders, his brow furrowed tightly. A little oversight. Don't make a mountain out of a molehill. Everyone in the company was watching, whispers and snickers rising and falling. 10 days later, Chin Mayu returned from his vacation to find the house half empty, with only a wedding ring lying coldly in the center of the drawer. He chuckled, completely unconcerned. Just wait. In less than 48 hours, she'll be begging me to forgive her through tears. 48 hours later, I landed and turned on my phone on the other side of the ocean. The first message that flooded in was his frantic notification of 99+ missed calls. I clutched my passport, following behind the line, my palms a little sweaty. Maldives sunshine, beach, sea. Chin Mayu was holding me last night, saying that this company team-building trip would be our honeymoon. The anticipation in my heart was about to overflow. It's my turn. I handed the boarding pass and passport to the security inspector. The machine beeped piercingly. The security inspector looked up at me. Miss Su, there's an issue with your ticket status. It's not going through. What? I was stunned. That's impossible. Can you scan it again? He tried again. The same prompt. System shows no valid flight information found for you. I panicked a bit and quickly rummaged through my bag for my phone, wanting to call Chin Mayu. Looking up, I saw Baiwi walking over. She held a first-class boarding pass in her hand, waving it back and forth. Oh, my sister Yen. She feigned surprise, her voice sickeningly sweet. Why are you still here? I didn't speak, just looked at her. She seemed to just realize, covered her mouth, her eyes wide, looking innocent. Oh my God, I must have been too busy and confused. I think I booked your ticket for myself. She leaned in closer and lowered her voice so only I could hear. Sorry, Yanja. But there wasn't a hint of apology in her eyes, only smugness and provocation. That look clearly said, I did it on purpose. What can you do about it? I was so angry. My hands trembled and the blood rushed to my head. I turned to look for Chin Mayu. He was watching from not far away, his brows furrowed, clearly having seen the whole thing. I felt like I was grasping at a lifeline, hoping he would say something. He walked over. I had just breathed a sigh of relief. But then he spoke, addressing me, his tone full of annoyance and impatience. It's just a small matter. What's all the fuss about? Well, I didn't do it on purpose. He even reached out and naturally put his arm around Weiwei's shoulders, patting her gently as if to comfort her. Then he looked at me as if looking at a spoiled and ignorant child. Just a slip-up. Don't make a fuss and embarrass yourself in public. I felt like a bucket of ice water had been poured over me, chilling me from head to toe. He said, I'm an embarrassment. Was I the one who messed up the plane tickets? Was I the one who was stopped in public? Was I the one who was blatantly provoked by his secretary? Instead of helping me, he put his arm around the culprit and blamed me. Moi, I want to explain. He interrupted impatiently. All right, figure out how to rebook or get home yourself. Don't waste everyone's time. Is everyone waiting for you alone? The colleagues behind him remained silent, their eyes darting away, some watching the spectacle. No one spoke a word for me. Chin Mayu held Weiwei and turned to walk towards the VIP lounge without looking back at me. I stood there frozen, watching their backs disappear into the crowd. The airport broadcast buzzed and the surrounding crowd pushed me. I suddenly felt particularly cold. A scene flashed in my mind. Many years ago, on the crowded subway during the evening rush hour, he was pressed against the door glass but still desperately protecting me. The carriage was stuffy and full of the smell of sweat. He leaned close to my ear, his voice full of laughter, panting as he said, Yen, when I'm rich in the future, I'll definitely charter a plane and take you to see the whole world. At that time his eyes were frighteningly bright, filled only with me. Now he's rich. He chartered a plane. He took everyone to see the world except he left me behind. It felt like someone had stabbed me fiercely in the chest, then twisted the knife. The pain was so intense I couldn't breathe. Tears surged up, but I stubbornly forced them back. I can't cry. At least not here. I slowly walked to the side, leaned against the cold wall, and slowly squatted down. The foam was quiet. I just stared at the smooth floor. My lonely shadow vaguely reflected on it. How ridiculous. I didn't buy a new ticket. What's the point of going to humiliate myself? I took a taxi home myself. That so-called luxury penthouse was frighteningly empty. The key turned in the lock. The inside was dark and silent. I didn't even change my shoes, collapsing directly onto the floor of the entryway. Exhaustion seeped out from the very marrow of my bones. My phone was ringing in my bag, one ring after another, particularly persistent. I took it out and saw it was my best friend Lynn Faley. I answered, but before I could say hello, she exploded like a firecracker on the other end. Yin, what's going on? I heard from Xiao Xiao that you didn't get on the plane. Did that surname by trick you again? Where's Chen Mayu? Is he dead? Just watching you get bullied like this. Her voice was anxious and angry, hurting for me. I opened my mouth, my throat tightening, habitual words slipping out without thinking. It's nothing. Waiwi is quite busy. She probably just made a mistake. Mayu is also having a hard time managing such a big company. So busy he barely has time to breathe. How could he care about such a small thing? I even convinced myself as I said it. Maybe I really am making a mountain out of a molehill. Lin Fa was silent for several seconds on the other end. Such chin. She spoke again, her voice lowered. What are you acting for? Do you even believe yourself? My heart skipped a beat. He's busy. So busy he can hug another woman through security but doesn't have time to say a word for his own wife. Zuching, wake up. He's doing this on purpose. Letting that secretary step all over you. I know. I understand everything, but admitting it is too difficult. If I admit it, what do the past few years of my life amount to? I sniffled, trying to make my voice sound normal. It's really nothing. Probably just a misunderstanding. And it just so happens that I didn't really want to go to the Maldives that much anyway. Don't worry, I'll be fine after a rest. Lin Fa cursed a few more times and finally sighed and hung up the phone. I know she's disappointed, and I'm disappointed in myself too. The room is quiet again. So quiet it makes you panic. I, as if possessed, opened my WeChat moments. The first post after refreshing was a 9-grid photo collage from a young woman in the administration department. Blue skies and white clouds, beach cocktails in the Maldives. My finger mechanically swiped down. The smile is blinding. Suddenly I stopped. The picture in the middle is of the sunset. Golden light covers the sea and two people stand side by side, their shadows stretched long. The man is Chin Mayu and the woman is Waiwi. They are standing very close. The caption reads, "Woo, the sunset is so beautiful. Love my boss. P.S. My boss and I look good together." Below are a bunch of likes and comments from mutual friends. Wow, they really are pleasing to the eye. Haha, that's the truth. Handsome boss and beautiful secretary, envious. No one remembered me. No one thought there was anything wrong with this. In their eyes, I was the one who rightfully belonged by Chinuyu's side. As for me, I was just an insignificant shadow whose name was listed in the employee family section. The newly formed scab over my heart was ripped open again. Not only did Chinuyu think I wasn't worthy of being the boss's wife of Moi culture, but everyone in the company thought so too. They must all be laughing at me behind my back, laughing at me for clinging to my position, laughing at me for not even being able to keep my own man. No one respects me, not a single one. The phone slipped from my hand and fell onto the carpet with a muffled thud. I didn't pick it up. At night I lie in bed. I used to think the bed was too small, and I always thought that when I had money in the future I would definitely buy a 2-meter wide bed. But now I just feel empty, and it's cold no matter how I lie. My eyes stare at the ceiling without a trace of sleepiness. It's like a movie playing in my head frame by frame. All the old broken things of the past. When we first started the business we were dirt poor. We rented a small dilapidated office with no heating in the winter, and a leaky air conditioner in the summer. I stayed up all night with him working on proposals, drinking coffee like water. He drew, and I was beside him looking up information and organizing data. Nodding off from sleepiness but refusing to sleep first to save money and support him. I didn't buy any new clothes for a year, ate manto for lunch and lied to him that I was losing weight. He drank until he had a stomach hemorrhage to get investment, and I stayed by his hospital bed crying. When the anesthesia wore off, his first sentence was, "Yin, don't be afraid. Your brother will definitely make sure you have a good life in the future." Those days were truly hard, but my heart was full. His eyes held me in the future. When did things change? Probably after the company really grew. He had more and more social engagements and came home later and later. His suits went from a few thousand yuan to tens of thousands of yuan for custom-made ones. He started saying my clothes were too casual, that I didn't know how to socialize, and that I was not presentable to take out. He said, "Yin, you're doing great as you are now. Just enjoy life at home and don't worry about the company's affairs." I thought he was being considerate of me. Only later did I slowly realize what he really meant. He felt that I was no longer presentable, that I was no longer worthy of his status as president. He thought I would only embarrass him. So Wei appeared at the right time. Young, beautiful, knew how to handle things, could hold a wine glass steadily, and knew how to flatter. He took her to various occasions, becoming more and more adept at it. People in the company were the best at reading the room. If the boss doesn't respect someone, who else will? They started bypassing me, only consulting with Wei. At the dinner party, they were seated in the main seats while I was placed at the most remote table like a ghost. Over time, Chin Moyu accepted this isolation. Tears rolled down unexpectedly, hot and scalding, flowing into my ears, down my neck, soaking the pillowcase. I bit my lip, not saying a word. "What are you crying for, such Ching Yan? Isn't this what you chose? Wasn't it you who forgave him time and time again, found excuses for him time and time again, that brought yourself to this point today? Serves me right. I've been lying around at home for 2 days like a boneless lump of soft flesh. When I'm hungry, I nibble on some bread, and when I'm thirsty, I drink tap water." The phone had been on silent the whole time. I didn't want to look, nor did I dare to. On the afternoon of the third day, the phone rang again. It was a somewhat familiar number. It seemed to be from the front desk of Moi Culture. I hesitated for a moment but still answered. What if it's something urgent from the company? "Hello, how may I help you?" My voice was a little hoarse. There was a pause on the other end of the phone, followed by a sweet giggling voice that I will never forget in my life. "Sister Yan, it's me, Wei Wei." It was Wei Wei. She was calling from the company landline. My stomach churned and I sat up abruptly. "Something wrong?" "Oh, nothing serious." Her tone was light. "It's about a file from President Chin's office. Seems you organized it before. I can't find the electronic version. I wanted to ask where you put it." Such a trivial matter. She's doing it on purpose. I didn't say a word. She didn't care and continued to speak, her voice sickeningly sweet. "Oh Yan, it's such a pity you didn't come. The Maldives is so beautiful. The sea is as blue as a gem." I clenched my phone tightly. President Chin has been working so hard these past few days, attending meetings during the day and socializing at night. Oh, by the way, that client last night could really drink, and President Chin almost passed out from being forced to drink so much. I was the one who helped him back to his room. She emphasized the word room specifically. Luckily, the hotel has many rooms and I'm staying next to him, which makes it easier to take care of him. Otherwise, if he threw up everywhere, no one would be there to help. How uncomfortable would that be, don't you think? My heart ached with throbbing pain and my breath caught in my throat. She was telling me that they were staying together. Even if it's not a room, it's enough to disgust me. I don't know about the file. I squeezed out a few words, wanting to hang up the phone. "Oh well, never mind. I'll just look for it myself." She laughed even more triumphantly. "Yin, you being home alone must be quite boring, right? I really envy you being so free. Unlike me, I have to accompany President Chin, running around doing this and that. I'll hang up now. President Chin is calling me." Beep beep. The dial tone sounded. I held up my phone, frozen for a long time. My whole body trembled with cold. What gives her the right? What gives her the right to be so arrogant? Just because of Chin Yu's indulgence. Yes, Chin Yu. I have to ask him. I want to hear what he says with my own ears. My fingers trembled as I found his WeChat chat. My hands shook as I typed. "Is what Bai we said true? You guys live in a villa together? Delete too direct. How are you doing over there? Are you busy? Delete too pathetic." In the end, only one sentence was sent. "Emo, are you free? I want to talk to you about something. Like a stone dropped in the ocean. It wasn't until the next afternoon that I received a reply. There was only one line. In talks for an important project. Stop bothering me with trivial matters. Attached is a photo. It looks like it's in a private room at some high-end restaurant. He's raising his glass, laughing and talking to some foreign clients. At the edge of the frame, a hand with exquisitely manicured nude nail polish is holding a wine bottle, pouring him wine. The Cartier watch on her wrist was bought by Chin Mayu through his assistant for Baiwi's birthday last month. I saw the receipt by accident. Trivial matters. So, in his eyes, my grievances were just me being immature and annoying. So, he lived under the same roof as his secretary, leaving me stranded at the airport alone. All because it was just a trivial matter not worth mentioning. I looked at that photo and suddenly laughed. I laughed so hard that tears came out. I'm so pathetic, still having expectations of him. In the afternoon, the doorbell rang. I thought it was the water delivery guy and groggily went to open the door. It was a courier at the door handing me a small cardboard box. Miss Suchin Yen, same City Express delivery. Please sign for it. The orange box was very conspicuous. Inside was a silk scarf. I unfolded the scarf. The pattern was terribly gaudy and the colors were very old-fashioned. A card fell out, printed words yet still exuding a hypocritical air. Sister Yen, I accidentally bought an extra one while shopping. This color is too bright and doesn't really suit my style. I heard President Chin say before that you usually only use cheap stuff. Consider this a way to broaden your horizons. I held the slippery silk scarf as if I were holding a venomous snake. Cold and disgusting. Usually only use cheap stuff, Mr. Chun said. So these words pierced my eyes like needles, the pain making me see stars. I use cheap stuff. Yes, I haven't bought any designer bags or decent jewelry in the past few years. All the cosmetics I used were near expired samples. But why was that? It was the most difficult year for the company when the capital chain was on the verge of breaking. He was so anxious that blisters appeared on his lips and he smoked all night long. I gave him my salary card, the money my parents had given me for my dowry, and even the funds I had just sold. Use it for the company first. My things aren't urgent. He hugged me then, burying his head in my neck, his voice soft. Ini Yen, I'm so sorry. When I get through this, I'll make it up to you. I'll buy you the best. Later, the company really recovered and grew bigger and bigger. He bought himself million-dollar watches and hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of suits. He bought Cartier for his wife and paid her a high salary. But it seemed he had completely forgotten what he had said to me in the beginning. Why do I only use cheap stuff? It's not that I can't afford better. It's that I gave everything I could to him, to that damn company of his. And now it's become the reason for him and his mistress to humiliate me. This is the biggest joke in the world. I clutched the tattered silk scarf, my knuckles bone white. All the emotions, all the grievances, anger, resentment, and pain at this moment suddenly all disappeared. The wildfire that had been burning in my heart for days and nights was completely extinguished by this last mouthful of ice water. Not even smoke was rising anymore. Only cold, death-like ashes remained. I didn't even cry. Calmly, I stuffed the silk scarf back into the box, tore the card to shreds, and threw it in the trash. It turns out that when the heart dies to the extreme, there is not a single sound. I looked at the gray sky outside the window. All right, Chimu, we're done here. I stood up and went to the bathroom to wash my face. The cold water stung my skin. I looked at the woman in the mirror with swollen eyes and a pale face. Such a shame, you can't keep doing this. I began to take action. No crying, no unusually calm. I started by finding a large suitcase, opening it, and placing it in the middle of the living room. Then I started packing. Not packing everything, just my own things. A few books I bought before I got married, a few worn-out cotton pajamas, photos of my parents, my diplomas, qualification certificates, all important documents, and the savings account I accumulated before marriage. Not much, but enough for me to start over. As for the other things in this house, those bags, jewelry, and designer clothes he bought me later with the money he earned out of compensation or on a whim, I didn't take anything. I even turned them all out from the closet, piled messily on the most conspicuous floor in the living room like a gorgeous yet cheap mountain of garbage. Looking at these things now, I only feel irony. They can't buy back my time, my efforts, and even more so, they can't buy back the Chinuyu who was once crammed in the subway, but whose heart and eyes were full of me. After packing up, I sat by the half-empty closet and took out my phone. I booked a moving company, specifically choosing the morning before Chin Moyu's flight landed. I don't want to see him again. Not even a single glance. Then I turned on the computer and drafted a divorce agreement. It's very simple. I don't want anything: the house, the car, the savings, the company shares. I didn't write any of it down. I only asked to get back my own documents and my meager premarital property. At the end of the agreement, I signed my name, Su Chin Yen, printed out a thin sheet of paper, light as a feather. Yet it put an end to all the grievances and burdens I've carried these past few years. I folded the agreement in half and placed it with the wedding ring I had taken off long ago. Then I closed the drawer like a ritual, locking away all my past love and obsession completely. After doing all this, it was almost dawn. I looked at this place I once called home and felt nostalgia whatsoever. All right, Chin Moyu, or even 10 days later, Chin Moyu returned. The plane ride had left him a little tired. The Maldives sun seemed to still linger on his skin. He habitually thought that upon entering, he would likely find a room of cold silence again, and Su Chingon would probably wear a face of resentment, perhaps not even having cooked dinner. He turned the doorknob. Something's not right. It's too quiet, and there's a dusty, chilly smell in the air. He frowned as he changed his shoes and walked towards the living room. His eyes immediately fell on a pile of things in the middle of the living room floor. His gaze swept over them. Bags, clothes, jewelry. All things he had bought for her later, piled there like garbage. His heart sank, and he strode quickly towards the bedroom. The closet door was open and half of it was empty. Suchin's clothes were all gone, and the dressing table was also empty. All those bottles and jars were gone. Chin Moyu's face turned ugly. He suddenly yanked open the bedside table drawer. No random trinkets, only a ring. The wedding ring he personally placed on her finger, lying alone in the center of the drawer, coldly reflecting the light from the overhead lamp. Beneath the ring, a piece of paper was pressed. He pulled it out. Divorce agreement. The terms were ridiculously simple, with Su Chingon leaving with almost nothing. Her name was signed at the end. The handwriting was clear without the slightest hesitation. Chin Moyu stared at the name in the ring for a full 10 seconds. Then he suddenly grabbed the ring and clenched it tightly in his palm, the metal digging into his skin painfully. His other hand crumpled the agreement into a ball. He growled and turned to rush into the living room, grabbing a glass from the table and smashing it hard on the floor. Fragments scattered. His chest heaved, his eyes red with anger. He pulled out his phone and called his best buddy Su Xiaoan directly. As soon as the call connected, he didn't wait for the other side to speak before gritting his teeth and roaring into the phone. "Get out here. Let's drink." Half an hour later at a bar booth, Su Xiaoan saw that his face was not right. "What's wrong, President Chen? Did your vacation set you on fire?" Chin Moyu took a big gulp of strong liquor, slapped the crumpled and barely flattened agreement on the table, and pressed the ring in his palm heavily on the paper. "See that? Suchin did it. She's really capable now. She's playing the runaway and hard to get game with me." Su Xiaoan picked up the agreement and looked at it, stunned for a moment. "A clean break? She's serious." "Serious? My ass?" Chin Yu scoffed, snatched back the agreement, crumpled it into his pocket. His face was full of disdain, "Just putting on a show for me. Upset that I didn't give her face at the airport last time." Throwing a tantrum, he took another gulp of wine, his tone extremely confident, even with a hint of contempt. "You believe it or not, no more than 48 hours. What can she do with the little money she has? She can't even afford to stay in a decent hotel for 2 days. He swirled his wine glass, the ice clinking. "Just wait. In 48 hours at most, she definitely won't be able to take it anymore and will have to call me crying, begging for my forgiveness." The plane pierced through the clouds, heading towards the Mediterranean. Outside the window was an endless expanse of blue where the sky and sea merged in the distance. I felt unusually calm without longing or elation, like a glass of water that has completely settled. After a flight of over 10 hours, I slept for a while, watched a movie for a while, and spent more time staring out the window in a daze. Finally, completely free. I chose a small town along the Mediterranean coast. Not a popular tourist city, the pace is slow, the sun is shining, and the air has a salty sea breeze. I rented a small apartment, white walls, blue windows with a small balcony where I could watch the sunset. After settling in, I didn't let myself be idle. I had to get on my feet as soon as possible. Using the language basics I had taught myself, I signed up for a short-term language course, forcing myself to improve quickly. At the same time, I took on some remote translation jobs from domestic companies online to earn some living expenses. The days are busy and fulfilling, and I learn new things and see different scenery every day. My skin is tanned, but I feel more grounded than ever before. One day, the language class organized a visit to a local small museum as a practical activity. Standing before a display case introducing the local ancient maritime history, I looked at the patterns on a piece of pottery, finding its composition and symbolic meaning very special, different from the simple explanation on the display label. As I was pondering, a gentle male voice next to me said in slightly accented but very clear English, "This pattern seems to be more than just decoration. It's more like a primitive navigation symbol. Isn't it?" I looked up in surprise. A man with an Asian face wearing a well-fitting linen shirt exuded a clean and composed demeanor. He looked at the pottery with a focused gaze. I nodded, using my still unpracticed English and gestures to express myself. Yes, and its appearance might be related to the wind or constellations. The exhibition label only said decorative pattern, which is a pity. I felt a little embarrassed after saying that, showing off this shallow understanding in front of a stranger. But he showed a very interested expression, looking at me very seriously, very insightful indeed. Many patterns of early civilizations are simply classified as decoration by modern people, ignoring the practical information and wisdom within. He smiled and politely introduced himself in Chinese. "Hello, my name is Gusher Yan, and I'm an architect here to work on a small project. You seem to know a lot about these ancient symbols." Su Qin Yan. I gave my name and shook my head. Just interested, making wild guesses. Intuition is often closer to the truth than knowledge. He spoke with sincerity, without a hint of false flattery. Your perspective is unique, and I've learned something from you. We stood in front of that display case and chatted from various symbols to the cultural fusion in local architecture. He is knowledgeable but never flaunts it, always encouraging me to share my own thoughts. He would listen attentively until I finished speaking, and even if it was a whimsical fantasy story, he would patiently listen and then respond. This feeling of being treated as an equal and genuinely respected was like a warm current unexpectedly melting the ice that had accumulated in my heart for so long. After a while, the teacher called for us to gather, and I finally came back to my senses. "I have to go back now," I said with a hint of apology. Gusher Yan immediately nodded in understanding, taking out a simple business card from his pocket. "It was a pleasure meeting you, Miss Su. This is my contact information. I'll be here for a while longer. If you're interested in local historical architecture, perhaps I could be a guide." His invitation was open and natural. I took the business card and nodded. Stepping out of the museum, the dazzling Mediterranean sun hit me in the face. Looking at the blue bay in the distance, that corner in my heart that had been forcibly closed for a long time seemed to have a ray of light quietly seeping in. That day my mom's phone call suddenly came. International long distance. The signal was a bit crackly. Her voice sounded anxious yet a little cautious. "Yin, are you doing okay out there?" My heart skipped a beat. "I'm doing great, Mom. Eating well, sleeping well. What's wrong?" The other end was silent for a few seconds. "MOU." He came to the house. I gripped the phone tightly. He seemed very anxious, said he couldn't reach you and asked if we knew where you were. My mom sighed. I said, "I didn't know your dad. Your dad almost chased him out with a broom." My heart felt a pang. "Don't you all bother with him and don't tell him anything." "I know. Don't worry." My mother's voice lowered. "It's just he called several more times after that, and his tone got more and more aggressive each time. It was kind of scary." "Yen, do you think he might?" "No," I interrupted her, my tone very certain. "He's all bluster and no bite. Just block him every way you can and ignore him." I just hung up the phone with my mom when Lin Fei's WeChat voice call popped up. As soon as I answered, it was her machine gun-like voice. Holy crap! Is Chin Mayu out of his mind? He actually tracked me down. He's beating around the bush asking if you're abroad and if you've been in contact with me. I can already picture her rolling her eyes. I told him off directly. I said, President Chin, don't you have the best secretary by your side? Why are you looking for our yin? She uses cheap stuff and isn't worthy to speak with you. Huh. You should have heard his tone. I bet his face turned green with anger. I listened, feeling nothing, and even wanted to laugh a little. He's getting anxious. He's really realized that I don't want him anymore. But this anxiety isn't because of love. It's because of a loss of control. Like losing a familiar piece of old furniture. Suddenly it's gone and things aren't as convenient anymore. So well done. I smiled. Next time he looks for you, just call the police and say he's harassing you. Definitely, Lin Fa snorted. How are you doing? Are you short on money? No, I'm not. I'm busy making money. These words were not meant to comfort her. After hanging up the phone, I turned on my computer and checked my email. A classmate from my previous language class, knowing that I work as a translator, recommended me to a local small tourism company. They needed to translate some promotional pages introducing local specialty crafts into Chinese. The volume wasn't large and the pay wasn't great, but I took it on. I spent all my time on it, researching, verifying every term, and even going to the workshops of those artisans to ensure the translation was accurate and flavorful. On the day I submitted the draft, the boss of that small company was particularly satisfied. He settled the payment directly and even gave me an extra bonus. When the money was transferred into my account, I stared at the number for a long time. Although it wasn't much, every cent was earned by my own efforts. Clean and upright with backbone. I posted about this as something new on Moments with a picture of the sea outside the window. Not long after, Gurion liked it and commented, "The translation is very authentic." After a while he messaged me privately. "I saw what you sent. You did a really good job. Thank you. Perfect." He followed up. "A cultural foundation I'm working with is looking for a translator who can accurately handle Chinese and Western cultural terminology. The project is a bit bigger than this one. Are you interested in giving it a try? I'll send you the requirements to take a look at." He quickly sent over a document with clear requirements and reasonable compensation. It was a legitimate project collaboration invitation, not charity. My heart skipped a beat. This is indeed an opportunity. I'm interested. Thank you for the recommendation, Mr. Gu. Just call me Shiryan. You have the ability to seize the opportunity yourself. As the project progressed, I became busier. Much of the communication with the foundation was through Garen. He was professional and efficient but never pushy. When we encountered significant cultural differences, he would patiently explain the background and respect my judgment. Sometimes we debated for several rounds in emails about how to best translate a single word to capture its essence. Besides work, we occasionally chatted about other things like which restaurant has the most authentic pa, or which small town has the most beautiful sunset. A tacit understanding grows bit by bit like ivy climbing along the Mediterranean coast, silent but full of life. In the afternoon, I had just come out of the supermarket, carrying 2 heavy shopping bags filled with fresh vegetables, fruits, and bread. The sun was shining and I was strolling slowly towards my apartment, my mind still occupied with a tricky point in a translation. As I approached the building, I instinctively looked up and my steps came to an abrupt halt. There was a person sitting by the flower bed at the entrance of the apartment. A person I never wanted to see again even if I died. Chini. He looked terrible. His hair was a mess. His suit was wrinkled. His eyes were bloodshot. And there was even a stubble of bluish beard on his chin. Several cigarette butts were scattered haphazardly at his feet. Chinmoyu looked up and saw me, then suddenly stood up, almost losing his balance. "Yen Yen." His voice was terribly hoarse, and his eyes instantly glazed over with a layer of mist as if he were about to cry. "I finally found you." I stood there unmoving. There wasn't a ripple of emotion in my heart, just a touch of nausea. He rushed over, trying to grab my arm. I took a step back, dodging him. "How did you find this place?" My voice was flat, devoid of any emotion. "I searched so many places, asked so many people." He was incoherent, gazing greedily at my face. His eyes filled with the madness of something lost and found. "Yen, you've changed. You seem like..." He couldn't seem to find the words to describe my current state. I had worked out and got a tan, wearing a simple t-shirt and jeans, no makeup, but my eyes were bright and my back was straight. I was no longer the person in his memory, the one who needed to depend on him and always had a worried look between her brows. You should leave. I didn't respond to his words directly, issuing an order to leave. I won't leave. He suddenly became agitated, his voice tinged with a sob. Yin, I was wrong. I really know I was wrong. I'm a bastard. I'm not human. He raised his hand and slapped himself with a loud smack. People on the roadside were looking over. Can you forgive me? Come back with me. I'll be good to you from now on. I'll fire my way and you can manage the company. You can do whatever you want, please. He babbled on and on, apologizing, repenting, and promising over and over again. Listening to him, I only felt an immense sense of irony. If he had said these words even a little earlier, even a month earlier, I might have softened. But now it's too late. Are you done? I interrupted him, my tone as cold as ice. If you're done, you can leave. He was stunned, as if he hadn't expected this reaction from me. Yin Chinyu. I looked into his eyes, enunciating each word clearly. We were over a long time ago. From the moment you hugged Bai Wei at the airport and left me there alone. From the moment you indulged her in provoking me time and time again. From the moment you thought I only used cheap things and embarrassed you, it was completely over. I calmly laid out all the things he had done one by one in front of him. Your apologies, your repentance mean nothing to me now. They only make me feel more disgusted. His face gradually turned pale as if all the blood had been drained from him. Just then, a gentle voice came from behind and to my side. Chinese, do you need any help? It was Gusher Yan. He was holding a folder in his hand as if he was here to discuss work progress with me. Garan walked to my side, naturally taking the heavy shopping bag from my hand before looking at the frantic Chinuyu across from us. His gaze was calm with inquiry, but without any aggression, just out of politeness and concern. Chinmoyu suddenly stared at Gusher. His gaze was like a knife scanning him up and down. I shook my head slightly at Guaran. It's nothing. Just met a stranger and exchanged a few words. Gusher Yan nodded, not asking any further questions. He stood by my side, forming a silent but firm stance of support. Chinmoyu glared at the two of us. His expression slowly changed from pale to livid and finally flushed into a liver-colored hue from extreme jealousy and anger. He looked like he wanted to rush forward, but also like he was nailed to the spot by something. In the end he said nothing, pointing at me, then at Gusher. A hoarse, strangled sound escaped from his throat. Then he abruptly turned and stumbled towards the car parked by the roadside, the engine roaring to life as they sped away. Only the acrid smell of exhaust fumes lingered in the air. I breathed a long sigh of relief. After Chinmoyu came to rant that time, I had some peace and quiet for a while. He seemed to finally understand that he had absolutely no chance with me. Later, I heard some news from China sporadically from Lin Fa. She said that something big seemed to have happened to my culture. Since I left, Chinmoyu has become a different person with a terrible temper, constantly yelling at people in the company and making one bad decision after another. Several old clients couldn't stand it, and the collaborations fell through. The most important project seems to have been sabotaged by Weiwei. Lin Fa couldn't explain exactly how she sabotaged it, but she heard that the woman seemed to have run off with a crucial investment. No one can be found. The company was suddenly emptied out. The capital chain was completely broken, and it was left with a mountain of debt. When I heard the news, I was in a meeting with Gusher and colleagues from the foundation discussing the next phase of project promotion. I was wearing headphones, listening to Lin Fa's indignant and somewhat gloating account while my fingers were still recording the key points of the meeting on the keyboard. There wasn't a ripple in my heart, as if I were listening to a stranger's story. After hanging up the phone, the meeting was almost over. Darian glanced at me and asked softly, "Are you okay?" I shook my head and smiled. "It's nothing. Just an unimportant message." He knew a little about Chinmoyu and me, but he never asked too much. He nodded, steering the conversation back to work. "Then let's refine the plan we just discussed based on the ideas you suggested." My relationship with Gusha naturally grew closer and closer, like two streams slowly converging. There was no earth-shattering confession, Just enough tacit understanding and trust accumulated in the daily interactions. He respects every one of my ideas and supports all my decisions. We argue about work, but the goal is to make things better, not to overwhelm each other. He showed me what a healthy relationship is like. Equality, respect, mutual nourishment, rather than one side endlessly consuming and demeaning the other. We're together. It's calm and steady. Just as I was busy preparing for the opening of my small personal translation studio, a strange overseas number called my cell phone. When I answered, it was Chinyu on the other end. His voice was hoarse and exhausted, carrying a humility and pleading I had never heard before. Yen, it's me. He was panting heavily. I'm in big trouble. Our company is finished. That __ by Huawei screwed me over. I didn't speak. Listening quietly, he rambled on, complaining, and finally revealed his true purpose. Yen, can you help me? You used to know those investors. Can you introduce me to them? Or can you come back and help me prop up the company? You know how it works. He spoke as if nothing had ever happened between us. I waited for him to finish before speaking, my voice very calm. Mr. Chun, are you asking your ex-wife to clean up your mess now? He choked on the other end. Your company, your secretary, your mess have nothing to do with me anymore. I said each word distinctly. I can't help you and I won't. Deal with it yourself. After saying that, I hung up the phone and blocked the number. I continued to lower my head and sketch my studio logo. The sun was shining brightly outside the window. So nice. Later, Lin Fa couldn't help but send me a WeChat message. It was a voice message. When I opened it, I heard her suppressed voice with a hint of satisfaction. Hey Yen, let me tell you something. That idiot Chin Mayu seems to be really screwed. He's in debt up to his ears, can't find a job, and is drunk every day. I heard he even spent a few days in jail. TSK. Oh right. And that Vivi or whatever, she was arrested a while ago too. It seems she got sentenced to a few years. A pretty heavy sentence. Serves her right. After hearing that, my finger paused on the screen for half a second before I replied with 2 words. Good for her. Then I tossed my phone aside and went back to arranging the new batch of books I had just received. It's a reference book for my studio. I don't feel anything at all. It's not like hearing that an enemy has been avenged, but more like hearing the weather forecast say that it rained in the next city. It doesn't matter. My small translation studio is slowly getting on track. The projects I take on aren't big, but they're enough for me to live comfortably with extra money to occasionally buy myself a bouquet of flowers. I no longer use cheap stuff. Everything I use is something I like and can afford. Darian's project is also wrapping up here, but he hasn't left. We naturally ended up living together in my small apartment with the blue windows. Sometimes we work together, him drawing his designs and me flipping through my research without disturbing each other, but able to see each other with a glance. On weekends, I drive that second-hand car of mine aimlessly along the coastline, stopping to spend the night in any small town that catches my eye. He's not like Chin Mayu, never making me feel like I'm not presentable. On the contrary, he always loves introducing me to his friends and clients, saying very naturally, "This is my girlfriend, Sachin. She's very talented and a highly professional translator." This candid acknowledgement made me feel grounded. It was another ordinary afternoon. The sunlight was unbelievably good, warming the balcony. Darian and I nestled in the old sofa on the balcony with a plate of washed grapes between us. I'm holding a thick picture album and looking at it while he's next to me processing emails on his laptop. At my feet lies the stray cat we picked up yesterday, snoring in its sleep. It's very quiet. There's only the sound of wind blowing through the leaves and the faint tapping of the keyboard. I raised my head, rubbed my slightly sore eyes and looked into the distance. The blue sea sparkled with fine golden light, stretching as far as the eye could see. My heart felt especially calm and especially full. It was a solid kind of peace and contentment. I know that the such Ching Yen who was left behind at the airport security checkpoint, helplessly shedding tears, is long dead. Even the ashes have been scattered by the wind. The one who is alive now is such Chin Yen, who crawled out of the mud by herself, washed herself clean, stood firm, can earn her own money, can be loved well, and also knows how to love others. Strong, independent, respected, loved. Pretty good. I leaned back slightly, my shoulder touching Yuri's arm. He didn't look up, just freed a hand, very naturally took my fingers and gently squeezed them. The sunlight was incredibly warm,